Hey everyone, it's Don Gillis with Emerson. I'm in Sydney, Ohio again at the Copeland plant. Hey, this morning I want to talk about some good installation practices. Um, the things we do today on our installs, we don't realize don't necessarily pop their ugly head up next week or next month or even next year. For example, let's take a good vac, for example, not pulling down to the proper microns. That may not show its ugly head for 5 years down the road, as I often say in our classrooms. I didn't know that when I first started, but leaving that moisture in that system, it gets acidic, okay, and it starts to eat away at the copper and causes the high heat and causes what we call copper plating. The bottom line is the compressor dies 5 years from now. The technician goes back out that had nothing to do with the install, might not even be from the same company. And Mr. Wilson or Mrs. Jones or whoever, the equipment owner says, boy, they just don't make them like they used to. But what no one knows is that it happened from day one on that initial installation because of improper brazing, improper micron pull down your vac, and different things like that. So I want to talk a little bit about that and maybe open some eyes, especially to the younger technicians that might just be starting out, to keep you in good practices. I'm going to share my screen here real quick. Bear with me while I get through this. Switch settings, give you the big screen here. Grab this laser. Okay, piping procedures. First of all, the two biggest reasons we select the piping that we do size-wise is I always call it the two V's, volume and velocity, okay? We need the tubing to be large enough to bring enough volume to be able to cool the compressor down, the motor of the compressor down, because most compressors are refrigerant cooled, if you didn't know that, okay? We need the velocity to drive that oil back to lubricate everything, including the compressor, to bring that oil back to the compressor. That compressor needs that oil to survive. Okay, so we need volume and velocity. Those are the two biggest reasons we size the line sets like we do. So correct size. The type of tubing will be ACR, air conditioning refrigeration. It is dehydrated, it's seamless, and it's measured in OD. Cut with the proper tools, obviously. Make sure when you deburr that burr doesn't go down in that tubing. That will cause, again, that down the road, that short out on the windings of the motor. Okay, clean and flux as needed. If you use flux, I'm not saying you can't, but if you use it, a lot of times you may need that on the copper clad steel fittings that are on the compressor, but use it sparingly. Put it on the male fitting, not the female fitting. Okay, don't glob it up and then shove the fitting in there. That too, like moisture, is acidic, and that will show its ugly head down the road. You may be long gone and on to a different position, or retired or promoted or whatever, not even know what you did on the installation caused the problems, again, 5 years from now. Ensure that there's a proper fit and fasten as required. If you're under codes, make sure you're following those codes. Select the proper heat source and filler material. I like my acetylene oxygen. I do have a turbo torch. I think that's a brand name. I'm not promoting that brand if it is a brand name, but I do own one. The thing I'll say about that is when turbo torches and things like that, their competitors came out like that, you have to be careful keeping that heat on too long. Make sure you get on and get off as quick as you can, okay? Protect the fittings, your TXVs, your service valves, and those kind of things. Make sure you're not. That's why I like my acetylene oxygen. Get on and get off real quick. And then last but not least, purge with inert gas. Purge with inert gas. Well, in this case, our inert gas is going to be what we're going to refer to nitrogen. I think that's the most popular one we use. And we put a purge with inert gas because of oxidation. And this is what that looks like. This was a test we did here in Sydney. On the left-hand side, we brazed this without using nitrogen. And on the right-hand side, we brazed it with using nitrogen, okay? The nitrogen, by the way, we're not pressurizing the system with nitrogen while we're brazing. We're removing the Schraders and putting about 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds, somewhere thereabouts of nitrogen, just slightly bleeding that through the system as we're brazing it, okay? We don't want it turned up real high. In fact, most of your regulators now have a brazing setting on them for brazing. Okay, so utilize that. If you don't know that you're supposed to do this, please practice at your shops if you can. That's what I would suggest. And almost all tubing, pardon me, must be purged with nitrogen during the brazing process. What I didn't know when I first started out is what we see, these flakes on the left hand side on the outside of the tubing is happening on the inside of the tubing also. Okay. Now, years ago, when we had mineral oil, mineral oil was much more forgiving. Okay. When POE oil came out, POE oil refrigerant is as good, if not better. It's at least as good as, let's say, RX11 or any kind of flush you're using. Okay. It will make this look like this after time. And this will end up more than likely in your liquid line filter dryer, your TXV, or whatever your metering device is. Okay. And it'll look like a bad TXV when in fact it was just poor brazing procedures. Okay. Um, Again, this will make this look like this with the POE oil, the refrigerant. Okay. The best analogy I've ever heard given here is think of mineral oil as we always used to have a snow globe on our TV when I was a kid, and you shook that snow globe and the flakes would come down and they would hit the ground, eventually landing on the ground. Okay. Well, that was a good visual for mineral oil, okay? But with POE oil, when POE oil came into play, we would shake that globe, and those flakes that were headed towards the ground would actually pick up in the air or the stream, the refrigerant stream here, and carry it on down the line into probably again the metering device or the liquid line filter dryer, really depending on where the braze is at. Okay, where it's what's beyond the braze we're talking about. All right. So get in the habit of using nitrogen while you're brazing, and you will be a better technician. You'll have much better luck with your installations, your service practices, and when you do things like that, you have happy customers. When you have happy customers, you have a good business, and you can keep those long-term business relationships up. And hopefully, I'm a big fan of is service agreements. Service agreements is what makes the world go round and round in our industry. Okay, building those bridges and keeping those relationships up. So the bottom line is good service practices. Always take pride in what you're doing when you're installing. It is important. Okay, take very good pride in what you're doing there. And that's all I have for you today. That's your fun fact for today. I'm Don Gillis with Emerson. I hope you have a great day. If you're on call, please be careful. Okay. Look out for each other and share the knowledge. Thanks a lot and have a great day. Bye.